Today, we're talking about the time sports fans almost destroyed the Byzantine Empire, because apparently, even in the year 532, people were still capable of looking at a game and saying, "You know what this needs? Arson." So, welcome to Constantinople, capital of the Byzantine Empire, giant city, lots of churches, lots of politics, and one extremely important building called the Hippodrome. The Hippodrome was basically if you combined NASCAR, a football stadium, Twitter, and a political rally, then removed all the safety regulations because it was the 6th century, and everyone was raw-dogging history. The main sport was chariot racing, which sounds fancy until you remember it was basically horses dragging tiny death carts around a track while thousands of people screamed at them. Now the fans were divided into teams called the Blues and the Greens. And these were not casual fans. This wasn't, "Oh, I like the blue uniforms." These people treated their racing teams like religion, political party, street gang, and personal identity all rolled into one sweaty little chaos burrito. If you were a blue, you hated the Greens. If you were a green, you hated the Blues. And if you were Emperor Justinian, congratulations. Both of them probably hated you too. Justinian was the emperor at the time, and he had big dreams. He wanted to rebuild the Roman Empire, reform the law, make himself look extremely important in mosaics, the usual emperor stuff. But big dreams cost money, and money usually means taxes. And people, historically, react to new taxes with the same calm dignity as a raccoon trapped in a garbage can. So tensions were already high. Then some members of the blue and green factions got arrested after earlier violence. A few were sentenced to death. The execution got botched, because apparently even hanging people had quality control issues back then, and 2 of the condemned men survived. They ran off and found sanctuary in a church. At the next chariot races, the crowd started demanding mercy for them. At first, the blues and greens were shouting separately, because naturally, even while begging for lives, they still had to be annoying about team branding. But then something strange happened. They united, and instead of yelling for their teams, they started yelling Nika, which means win or conquer. This is where the situation went from angry sports crowd to, "Oh no, we have invented a revolution." The crowd poured out of the Hippodrome and started wrecking the city. They burned government buildings. They burned churches. They burned large parts of Constantinople because, once again, the official urban planning method of the ancient world was, "Let's see what survives the fire." Then they did the truly spicy thing. They declared a new emperor, a man named Hypatius, who, from what we can tell, did not wake up that morning thinking, "Today I will become emperor," because horse fans are mad. But history does not care about your schedule. Meanwhile, Justinian was freaking out. His advisors were saying, "Hey boss, maybe we should leave before the sports goblins murder us." And honestly, fair. But then Empress Theodora gave one of the coldest speeches in imperial history. Her basic message was, "Running away is embarrassing. Purple makes a fine burial shroud," which is ancient empress for, "Stop being a little bitch and act like an emperor." So Justinian stayed. Then his generals, including Belisarius, came up with a simple plan. Trap the rioters in the Hippodrome and kill the hell out of them. And that's what they did. Thousands of people were slaughtered. Ancient sources give huge numbers, often around 30,000, though exact numbers are always tricky when the record-keeping method is, some guy wrote it down later while being dramatic. The revolt was crushed. Hypatius was executed. Justinian stayed emperor. And weirdly enough, the whole disaster made him stronger. With much of the city destroyed, he rebuilt parts of Constantinople, including the Hagia Sophia, basically turning a riot caused by sports fans into a construction opportunity. So the lesson here is simple. Never underestimate a fandom. Today they're yelling at a referee. Tomorrow they're burning down your capital and trying to replace the government. And if you ever think modern sports fans are too intense, just remember, At least nobody has declared a new emperor because the Lakers had a bad season. Yet.
If you enjoyed watching history turn into a badly drawn crime scene, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what weird historical nonsense I should cover next. And if you learned something today, I'm sorry. That was not supposed to happen.